Hello, and welcome back, subscribers and new viewers, to another Sunday Speed Paint, and in fact, the last one of 2023. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of my subscribers. Never, when I first started this channel, had I thought that we would reach even 500, let alone 1,000 subscribers, and counting, and 2 patrons supporting the channel. Genuinely, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. That means the world to me. With everything that I have been trying to create on here, I know that my channel can be a bit chaotic, and some of you may enjoy that. Others are kind of probably hoping for what I plan on doing for the New Year's, which is a little bit more direct approach and things that are a bit more organized and less chaotic. But there still will be a little pinch of chaos sprinkled in there, because what's a fun YouTube channel without a little bit of chaos and unplanned videos that just pop up at midnight? What I wanted to share was also what I learned from 2023 and how it kind of affects my goals for 2024. The schedule for YouTube's still going to be as planned, of 2 Sundays and 1 Wednesday per month. 1 Sunday at the beginning of the month, 1 Wednesday somewhere in the middle, and 1 Sunday at the end of the month. So that way you guys have plenty of content, and it gives me time to work on these videos efficiently, with lots of changes for a bunch of studio backgrounds, the assets for my characters' expressions, and fun little pop-ups here and there if I do any collabs. I also intend to get back to my once-a-month webtoons, however that is still on hiatus until I figure out a lot of stuff. I also intend to still continue uploading animation memes every now and again, speed paints, animatics, fan art, original content, all the fun art challenges, the story times that I keep saying I'm gonna share but will be sharing for 2024, and some various tips and tutorials. Being a self-taught digital artist and using traditional tools not as often has made a lot of the ideas that I've had in my head not really come to fruition as I had intended. I also want to make sure that I'm not making any empty claims. There are tons of videos that I started, like Minecraft mobs in my style, drawing Animal Crossing, and they were one-off videos that I meant to turn into series that I could do multiples of. However, I also put too much on my plate. I want each month for the videos to be organized and have backup artwork or videos just in case something happens. Same thing with when I'm working on my sets of pages for my webtoons. I want to make sure that both my videos and artwork have stuff done ahead of schedule so that you guys aren't waiting as I'm last minute on the same day recording these videos. I've learned this the hard way countless times of creating videos, saying, oh, I'll get to it when I have a free day, and then it's the day before I'm supposed to post and I'm recording the audio, doing all of the editing, and all kinds of stuff, and it tends to ruin the quality. You may have noticed this with some of my older videos where most of the speed paints are fine. I can create the artwork and talk over those no problem. That is also where I intend to shift my story times instead of trying to make animatics for all of them. There will be a few very important ones that I want to specifically make a little animatic for. However, when it comes to my animation memes and other videos that I want to take more seriously, I need to make sure that everything that I'm putting into it has proper planning, creating thumbnails, storyboards, then refining them, sketches, dialogue or scripting if needed, and music and everything for the amount of time it's going to take me to edit it, so that I can also look back on it and review it, so that there are things that I can catch if there's mistakes or things that don't need to be added in, or unnecessary breath sounds or background noises that I can take out so that you guys don't have to slog through and struggle as you're trying to listen to me or watch the artwork. Another thing that I want to also address with all of you is the jump in confidence that has wavered throughout the year. That I am very happy to say that where I started 2 years ago, when I was trying to build up that confidence, to where I'm at now, I feel like a completely different person for multiple reasons. And if you guys haven't seen it already, when I talked about me changing by no longer masking emotions and being on autopilot and all of that, there are some days that I do struggle with it. There's art block, there's the void that I've created to share to all of you in more of a story artistic format that just weighs in on me. There are some days where I can hardly pick up a pencil and I stare, doom scrolling on social medias, or just sometimes sitting in silence. I have learned coping mechanisms of various ways with my artwork and listening to music to help me focus. Something that I didn't realize was apparently I think it's called a trauma response to certain things, is if you can't go to sleep without background noise, or when you're working on something and you need to listen to something, that's just a response to always constantly hearing something a bit dangerous in the background and kind of just being on guard, which is terrifying terrifying to think about, and I do want to address this in a story time next year in a bit more detail to kind of share how I've been kind of going through day to day with some of these things in case anyone else has left those situations and how to deal with some of that stuff, because it's not a fight or flight response every day, it's living my life how I want to, and I want to be able to share some of this with you guys. And through my artwork, it is very, very visual that you guys can see that there are some stiffnesses and some very weird ways that my artwork displays this kind of stuff. So sometimes my artwork, including me creating the void, has ways of just kind of creeping up from the past, but I want to have a better, proper hold on it because of the way that I have been perceiving life has changed over the past few years with mostly positive influence, and the active changes that I've been making outside of the things that I feel others, a part of my life, could help contribute to, but is not a requirement. And I am grateful for all of my friends and family's patience, and for all of the viewers for all of the times that I've gone on what I would consider nonsensical, rambling spirals of me not really knowing what I'm wanting to do or say, but still have these ideas, but when I do them, I tend to start them and not see them through to finish, and it can be very difficult when someone is trying to back you up. It's one thing to do something for leisurely means, and it's another to do things for a more serious business aspect. And that's how I want to take YouTube in the more business professional standings, is instead of just throwing out half-assed content, I want to actually produce something that can show off my art portfolio and have accomplishments. Now, that's not to say I haven't had videos that were great accomplishments for this year. There was a wavering up and down of accomplishments that I had made, where when I look back at my time-lapse of me, of what I actually finished from start to finish from January to December, I'm very proud that more than half of those videos are things that I am proud of and don't feel ashamed of having posted. Whereas if you even just go back to 2021 and many videos before that, I wasn't very proud of them. I was embarrassed, ashamed, and thought I could do better, but if I just continued to recreate the same videos on loop over and over again, it can be a bit sickening, and it wouldn't show any improvement or progress. It would just be me trying to recreate the same piece, trying to relive that high experience of emotional burst of like successful, but it's not, and it can be dangerous. And I've learned this from a few videos that I've seen where a lot of people will stick to one thing. I'm not the kind of person who's just going to dedicate my entire channel to Pokemon or anime or my original characters. I love a mixed bag of everything that I create, hence why I create a lot of art tutorials and original character stories with my animations, speed paints, fan art, all of that fun stuff, but it was so scattered that it didn't show. So some people might have found my channel because of my animation memes, and others might have found it because of my speed paints, but I want it to be a place where all of that can be organized in a way that if you want to watch it, it is still there and available, because I do know that I feel terrible for some of the videos like my Minecraft mobs in my style or fan art of Pokemon that was very much so cancelled halfway through or only made a one-off video. I feel like if I was subscribed to my own channel and I was watching these videos, I would feel very much inclined to just not tune in anymore, turn off that bell feed, and that's not good. I want to be able to work on my overall improvement for the channel. And in a bit more of a personal fine detail with my art composition as well, I feel like although I strongly do character designs, I need to work on everything. I want to work on my traditional artwork from time to time and share videos, because I have made, with my watercolors and markers and gouache paints, one single video and never went back to it, but I have tons of tools, and I have sketchbooks, I have canvases, and projects that I'm a bit more scared to show you the live time-lapsed process of me making, but I want to, because besides the digital artwork, my tablet can only hold so much storage space, and it would be fun to be able to also have tons of my traditional artwork to show you how my thoughts translate to paper and then to digital, because there are tons of very weird chicken scratch handwriting that I do in my thumbnails and sketches that I think it would be fun to share the behind the scenes, because a lot of people, including myself, tend to show the products when they are at their best and not some of the struggles when you're trying to create something, and step by step there are many hurdles and many unseen projects that tend to be pushed to the side, and in favor showing off some of those highlights of art and say, this is my entire art life, and that's not true. A lot of times when I was initially creating videos for my channel, I would hyperfixate on what others were creating. You can see this with my earlier videos where, of course, with animation memes, that's the goal. You make an animation meme using your characters, but following the exact same setup. It's kind of like watching two different movies. One's made by some famous person, and one is just a dedicated fan piece because they wanted to recreate it, but enjoying it for themselves. You may say that the professional one is better, you may say that the original one has more heart to it. It's up to you to decide on what's your kind of favorite. It's kind of what TikTok kind of does for me. When I watch it and create little animations or little skits for TikTok, it's for my own enjoyment mostly, but also for those who enjoy it, it's a bonus for me. And I want that to be the case for a lot of what I create. I want to genuinely enjoy it and genuinely have that passion show through my artwork, but also be realistic about it and remind people that what goes on behind the scenes to create all of this is a lot of time, hard work, and also just something that is kind of original. I know that originality is hard to find nowadays, and there is also the art struggle of the competition of many different medias, including the robot AI creations, which I've wanted to address on this channel before, but didn't really feel like I had the most professional standpoint on it because I have mixed feelings about AI. As far as AI, in my thoughts of it, I just think that it could be used as a tool, but not so much that leads it to being a art theft machine. This extends to just about everything now, to where there is now AI music creators, AI movie creators, AI book writers. It's everywhere. It's not just with artwork, and it can be frightening. As a tool to assist, as long as it is mentioned, it's like trying to say that you completely and originally created this image of a professional wedding photo and fail to mention that you went into Photoshop and you erased all of the birds that were in the background. It was raining, so you changed it to a nice sunny day. It's like trying to cheat your way through things. There's nothing wrong with mentioning that you have used a tool for assistance. The same thing goes with for the artwork for anyone who does comics or animation. Rotoscoping exists, professionals use it. Referencing, even doing the poses yourself, which is something that I'm trying to get better at doing, is if you can't find it, try it yourself. Try to use what you have around you, because here's one fun thing that I keep reminding myself: if I didn't have internet access, the only influences that I would have for my artwork is the people that I show it to, the things around me, and what's in my head that I try to translate to paper or digital format. And it can be an amazing thing to have access to all kinds of reference images. There are places like Line of Action, I believe, is a website where you can draw and practice quick sketches and studies of poses of people and exaggerate muscles and bones and all of these things that a lot of people who are artists who have that fine-tuned eye for pay attention to. Me as a visual artist, I love this, and that's why I save so many artworks but become hyper-fixated on them, and it leads to something that I still struggle with from high school, which is the grid-by-grid copycat method of making sure that everything is proportionate to your references and non-exaggerations. I have changed the way that I draw hands, hair, eyes, all of that, but I also was one of those people who struggled with the fact that you don't want to just focus on one area of improvement. If you want to be good at drawing people in cartoonish styles, sure, you'll have to learn the basics of drawing an actual person, but exaggerate the heck out of it. Go for them long, noodly arms if you want to draw like that, or draw them as buff as possible. Have fun with it and see what sticks, and if you don't like it, there are others out there who you can look to for inspiration, but don't be them, because they're already them. Be yourself, and that's what I want to do for this channel, and share to everyone else out there. Another thing that I thought I would share with you is actually the creations that I do. I know that most of what I create is my anthropomorphic or fun fantasy characters. However, there are lots of humanoid characters that I wanted to work on, and one of the projects that got completely dumped was working on a project with someone else with their characters, and I was making fan art for that, but that series fell down where I'm recreating a lot of my characters that I had ignored for so long and their stories that I want to share, but also being an artist who's a furry gets a lot of negative rap because of the many other people out there who fall under the dangerous zoophiles and other categories that are disgusting and don't fall anywhere near anything that I like to create or share, or even behind the scenes with a lot of stuff. I still also, when doing research for anthropomorphic characters, have had to stray away from references because of how horrified and scarred for life I am at just trying to find genuinely wonderful anthropomorphic artists. I want to actually share with some people some of the inspirations that I have found that are fantastic and stay in the safe for work zone, including myself, because as someone who's a fan of Pokemon and many other shows that have characters that are a bit more of a feral animalistic thing, this also extends to humans. There are just some things, because of the ages, that it makes me uncomfortable to even think of getting a request or a commission to draw such a thing. There are just tons of things that I will not draw. It's also why I'm not a gore artist. I've tried to get out of my comfort zone to make stuff like candy gore, but it's just not something that I enjoy doing. I like the spooky stuff. I will look up horror movies from time to time, but I will stay as far away from videos like Saw and whatnot because it's just not something I'm comfortable with. I am still scarred for life by a movie called Hostel because of a woman having a scooped eyeball. It was horrible, and chopped up fingers and all of that stuff. Another thing, as an artist who creates a lot of characters, there is also purpose behind designs, where you can do something of an unexpected cute character who's secretly the god of a world, who is vicious and has no emotions. They're just faking it, and they will destroy you with the snap of their finger. Or on the other hand, you have a rough character who's all covered in stitched up scars, and they do lifting weights for a living, but they own like a cat rescue club, and they're super sweet and kind. On the other hand, if I'm intending to draw a character who's supposed to look like a magical wizard who is ancient and has this cosmic aura about them, and instead I draw an average Joe character with greasy hair who looks like they're wearing a baggy t-shirt and jeans and is carrying around just a generic looking book that you could pick up at the thrift store. Sure, the eyes could be deceiving and whatnot, but that's not what I'm aiming for. Instead, I would aim for a mystical, older character who looks wise to their age, but also looks drained of energy because they're constantly training for the many years. They also have grayish hair, and they're wearing a sort of oldish, spectacular robe and carrying a hand-carved staff that was made from an old tree that is older than the planet itself. That brings inspiration to me. That gives me something that I can also work with, and I'm sure that it is something that you guys would be interested in seeing versus the other characters that I've described prior to it, because there are some things that when you hear somebody say, hey, that character looks like they're from Pokemon, or that looks like it's from Disney, it can be a bit discouraging when that's not what you're aiming for, versus on the other hand, when somebody compliments your character for that character as it is, with all of the elements that you have broken up into it. Something that I do sort of want to share is actually about my character Vixie. She is supposed to be a mix of a red fox and a fennec fox. She's an anthropomorphic mage. She wears a t-shirt and pants because she is genuinely just out on her adventure for the first time, as she's just barely begun training, going from elemental magic to receiving her first tome book. Another thing is with Vixie is her age. She gets mistaken for a kit, which is like a little fox baby, but she's a full-grown adult. Same with me, where I'm 26, but I get mistaken for a 16-year-old because of my height and my baby face, which will help in the future when I'm older, apparently. Good looks for the age, but I don't pay too much attention to that kind of stuff, so I thought that if someone was reading the comic, I don't want them to miss that kind of bits and bobs of information, so she constantly corrects them, and over time, as part of her character, I'm kind of wanting to squeeze in how I feel about it, that at some points you just roll with it. If somebody thinks that way, you just pull out your ID card smugly and say, I'm an adult, I can drink alcohol. That sounds really bad, but the point being is that sometimes you can turn something that makes you feel really upset about the way that someone perceives it and prove them wrong by saying, here's all of my evidence, thank you very much, and give them a polite, kill them with kindness smile. And as I change the character, I hope that the outfits and the accessories and the way the character talks can be perceived in that kind of way. Same thing for any fan artwork that I want to make in the future. I really don't want to make fan artwork that looks copy and pasted from its original sources, because if I'm intending to draw something like My Little Pony fan artwork and it looks like they're from Transformers or from Pokemon, that's not the intended result. It's a fun idea, but there are some things that on my channel, unfortunately, even with the massive list of stuff that I have in mind, there are some things that I just will never be able to get around to and don't feel comfortable doing on this channel, and I think that that's something important that I have not addressed on this channel before, because there are tons, over hundreds of things that I'm a fan of, but not a part of the fandom, because there are some things that I just don't really interact with as much as I either would like to or want to. And I hope that that doesn't, like, sort of steer people away for that kind of stuff, because I know that there are tons of things that I would love to engage upon in Discords and all that, but I also get a little bit anxious when it comes to trying to share my thoughts to people from previous experiences of one-off conversations that tend to not stick because of the way that I am, the way that I talk for hours at a time with the passion that I share. It can be a bit hard for others, so I try to remind myself to kind of rein myself back in, because not everybody is going to enjoy what I want to share. The same thing with, there are some things that people will want to see that I just don't. So I hope that that's something that you guys can look forward to, and if there are some things that you want to suggest for my channel, I will try to, but there are some things that, like I said, I just won't be covering. This is also something for story times. There are some serious storytime topics that I want to cover about my past, of course with no name drops or anything like that, that might be uncomfortable for some users, and some silly ones that might be relatable, such as me working in certain fast food environments that were awful and terrifying experiences, and near-death experiences as well. So some of these story times are things that are very out of my element from what you might already be used to on my channel. There are countless times when I've looked back at my old artwork and second-guessed myself, and to this day there are many things that I've learned what doesn't work for me. Every single time that I'd hyperfixate on something else, it just didn't fit for me. I would do very awful personal hygiene, bad habits of drinking nothing but sugary sodas, buttered noodles and hot dogs, getting hardly 4 to 6 hours of sleep, sitting on my bed to do my artwork and hunched over in a shrimp position and wondering why halfway through my project I just felt dead, zombified, and zoned out. I couldn't get that productivity level because I was leisurely doing it as if I was just sketching in my sketchbook when I needed to be sitting at my art desk in my comfy chair, sat with my back unshrimpified, drinking a bottle of water, having some fresh food instead of buttered noodles and hot dogs every time that I would work on it. If I just had some fruit or some vegetables, having one of these weird little wax melt candles to fill the smells in the room, or incense, or just having on some music that's not distracting, something that I know is going to help me relax and focus on what I need to, because of how heavily influenceable I am to the sounds and sights around me. I have learned that if I was to go out and about with someone at a coffee shop to do artwork, I would not be productive at all. Some people are okay with that. Some people can have tons of distractions and be able to zone out and focus. But I'm one of those people that when I get into the zone of artwork, it has to be very particular. I have to make sure that the moon is set to the right angle. I'm over-exaggerating to a degree there, but what I mean is that I'm one of those people that if I don't have the right environment, I have to make the right environment or go with the best availability that I can, because I know that I have these self-imposed deadlines that I want to take in a professional standpoint. And it's a very hard kind of back and forth balance for it, but I do know that there are some times where if I'm not going to be able to complete something, I need to be realistic with myself. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to finish that webtoons within the next year, I'd rather extend it to the next couple of years to 5 years to give myself legroom in case of any possibilities of changes of outside factors. This year has given me so many outside changing factors that I didn't realize that everything that I had initially set out to do, I only managed to accomplish about 75%, which is great, but also it means that there was tons of things that I could have avoided because of my own lack of self-focus. There were many times that I remember just sitting at my desk for hours at a time saying, I'm gonna get some references from Pinterest, I'm gonna put on my favorite music, and I end up doom scrolling, or I end up getting distracted and say, you know what, this needs to be cleaned, I'm gonna go into the living room or the bedroom or the kitchen and work on this, and it's 6 hours later, or I just get art block, or I get burnout because I've spent hours the day before working on something. There's tons of outside factors that needed to be accounted for, and I want to make sure that I don't give myself unrealistic expectations, so that I can work on things from start to finish and feel those accomplishments really making them worthwhile. I also hope that you guys have enjoyed today's video. I know it was a very weird, long video to cover the New Year's stuff, but there is tons of videos that I have in mind for next year, which mostly involves me working on stylizing fan artwork so that I'm not caught in the rut of mimic and copycat, because that is something that I genuinely worry about with my artwork being stale and stagnant. And then of course with my own original characters, I want to implement more to my rendering styles for different levels of art projects, the animations with my new tools of ToonSquid and Procreate Dreams and all of these fun projects that I have lined up for you guys. And with me working on these things ahead of time, considering that this video was made a week before I'm actually posting it, I'm already off to a great start and the year hasn't even begun for next year, so that is something that I am very excited about. And of course, I love to see what you guys create and want to utilize that Subscribblers gallery, so if you guys have any artwork, fan art, anything like that that you want to share, tag me in it. I know I don't use a lot of social medias very often, but I do still have DeviantArt, Instagram, TikTok, of course YouTube, and occasionally a few other social medias. It's in my link card down below for all of that stuff, because I love to engage with you guys, and I do in fact read all of the comments, and I appreciate everyone who supports this channel. And if you are a Subscribbler, I can't thank all 1,000+ of you enough for it, and I hope that you guys will still continue to join me on my art journey and listen to the many stories and art tips and tricks that I have to share for 2024. And if you have any New Year's goals that you feel you want to share in the comments down below, I would love to hear what you guys are going to be doing. Stay possum, thank you so much for watching, and have a happy New Year and happy holidays, everyone. And of course, I would love to give a special thank you to my wonderful patrons, including Frankie Jr. 13 and Spot Draws. Hold it right there, don't click off this video just yet. Why not check out some playlists of my videos while you wait for the next upload? And if you'd like to support my works and see more, click that link card down below. Patreon exclusive rewards for the Fennec Fox tier includes access to secret artwork, Arctic Foxes get shoutouts at the end of my videos, and early access to art and videos. Red Foxes have the opportunity to be featured when I need background characters or a commission instead. Subscribe for free if you have not already to join the Subscribbler squad, and tag me in some of that artwork and I'll share it in the Subscribblers gallery. Stay possum, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.